Namaste and greetings. I, Priyanka Negi, researcher at IMPRI Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav एवं नीति अनुसंधान संस्थान, Nai Delhi, extend my warmest welcome to you all to IMPRI Web Policy Learning. Together, we are gathered here for day one of the Public Policy Qualitative Participatory Action Research Fieldwork Fellowship, Cohort 2.0. IMPRI, with its unwavering commitment to dynamism and innovation, proudly presents the second cohort of our immersive program, the Public Policy Qualitative Participatory Action Research Fieldwork Fellowship, Cohort 2.0. Building on the resounding success of our first cohort, Law in Public Policy Action Research Fieldwork Program, we are thrilled to extend this opportunity to all of you, aspiring policymakers and researchers who are passionate about driving positive change through law and policy. This comprehensive 4-month program offers a unique blend of engaging lectures, interactive workshops, networking opportunities, and hands on fieldwork experiences led by esteemed experts. Throughout the course, you will gain a deep understanding of public policy and its impact on diverse societal issues. You will be privileged to learn from globally and nationally renowned thematic experts and practitioners. The program covers crucial skills including qualitative research methods, research tool preparation such as interviews, FGDs, and KIIs, tool testing methods, stakeholder mapping, fieldwork, research writing, and reporting. As part of this transformative journey, you will immerse yourself in the intricacies of literature review, honing your skills through valuable discussions with esteemed experts in the field. This program offers participants the unique opportunity to delve into diverse topics. Participants can choose topics from a variety area of international, national, local human rights, laws, and policies, foreign policies such as human rights, constitutional laws, foreign policies, marginalized communities' rights, gender justice, environmental rights, disability rights, or any other such policy in law related issue. You will be expected to conduct fieldwork in your respective cities, towns, or villages, submitting a comprehensive report by the end of the program. This hands on experience is where theory meets the real world, allowing you to make a tangible impact. The chair for the program is Professor Vibhuti Patel, visiting distinguished professor at IMPRI. Our expert panel for the program includes Professor Mukul Asher, visiting distinguished professor IMPRI, former Professor Lee Kuan Yew, School of Public Policy, National University of Singapore, Professor Vijay Raghavan, Professor, Center for Criminology and Justice, School of Social Work, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, Dr. Amar Jisani, independent researcher and teacher, Bioethics and Public Health, editor, Indian Journal of Medical Ethics, Dr. Purnima Chauhan, IAS, retired, former secretary, Government of Himachal Pradesh and Director, Himachal Pradesh Institute of Public Administration, HIPAA, Professor N. Mani Mekkalai, Director, Center for Women Development Studies, CWTS, Professor Gumari Sridevi, Professor, School of Economics, University of Hyderabad, Visiting Professor IMPRI, Professor Utpal Kete, Professor and former Head Department of Economics, Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, Meghalaya, Dr. Samyadeep Chattopadhyay, Associate Professor, Economics, Vishwabharati Shantiniketan, Visiting Senior Fellow at IMPRI, Dr. Prabhu Ponuswamy, Founder, CEO at Iodalytics Research and Analytics Solutions Private Limited. The conveners for this course are Dr. Simi Mehta, CEO and Editorial Director at IMPRI, and Dr. Arjun Kumar, Director at IMPRI. Welcome everyone to this insightful discussion, and I appreciate your dedication in investing your time, energy, and commitment to gain a profound understanding of the crucial role and intricate details of public policy frameworks. This program aims to empower participants with the ability to grasp the nuances and complexities of public policy paradigms, offering both theoretical insights and practical skills for research. To begin today's session, I would like to invite Professor Vibhuti Patel, visiting distinguished professor at IMPRI, to give her opening remarks. Over to you, ma'am.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Arjun Kumar, Dr. C.V. Mehta, Ms. Vidita, Mr. Satyam Tripathi, and IMPRI team for putting together this valuable course. Welcome, Professor Vijay Raghavan and esteemed participants to this Cohort 2 of the Law and Public Policy Qualitative Action Research Fieldwork Program. Now, how does qualitative participatory action research in the development sector contribute towards evidence-based policy? It's a concern with ensuring that experiences of the participants influence research at every level of the process. Participatory research focuses on how the concerned community may benefit from the research. A range of emancipatory research projects and centralize the values and knowledge system of stakeholders. They've emerged and begun to mature. Some of the glorious examples of such efforts crystallized in the content of Millennium Development Goals, whether it is the abolition of hunger or improvement of child mortality or reduction in maternal mortality, all those eight Millennium Goals, Millennium Development Goals were based on participatory action researches conducted in Asia, Africa, Latin America. Similarly, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are applicable to the global community, to which 189 countries have taken allegiance, they are also product of the participatory qualitative research. Women Empowerment Policy 2001 of our country, it crystallized because we had evidence-based policies for the whole life cycle of women from womb to tomb. Right to education policy, workplace safety policy, right to information policy, all these things are transparency in governance of the shelter homes for children and women in difficult circumstances. The pioneering work Dr. Professor Vijay Raghavan did by examining the status of children in difficult circumstances in shelter homes, which was also based on both the quantitative and qualitative data, which made it mandatory by the government that all this that the certain standard operative procedures have to be maintained by the shelter homes. When it comes to gender responsive participatory budgets to reduce gender gaps in the area of education or health or curbing violence against women or employment and skill training programs, increasing decision-making power of women, all this have been a product of participatory action, qualitative action researches done with interdisciplinary perspective. Methods which are used in the qualitative research, participatory qualitative research, have been case studies, focus group discussions, phenomenological narrative, or keen observation. In fact, you saw the random control trial done by Professor Abhijit Mukherjee and Abhijit Banerjee and Professor Duflo was also, it also had a qualitative dimension where the observation of the researcher about what is the quality of involvement of students in the classroom situation and where the teacher is active, what kind of responses you get, and the whole new initiative which the government of India has taken in terms of promoting quality education. I think they are very important landmarks in the qualitative research. The epistemologies and methodologies included under the large umbrella of participatory research are inclusive research, co-production research, decolonizing and indigenous methodologies, feminist research. This approaches problematize power asymmetry in research process and seek to transform research process, keeping into consideration of intersectional vulnerabilities of the respondents in terms of what counts as knowledge, who produces knowledge, who owns knowledge, who uses knowledge, and who benefits from this knowledge, with implications beyond that for wider social relations. So participatory qualitative action research fosters democratic, transformative, collaborative knowledge production, as during the research process, researchers as well as the participants, we don't even call them research subject, they are they are respondent, because their critical reflections are very important in shaping the course of action research. They share their reflections on the conduct of the research, their research projects. They also decide the methodological issues in specific contexts. They deliberate on range of alternative approaches to conventional research paradigms, aiming to promote dialogue in consonance with the vision, mission, objectives, ethos, values, and the ultimate goal of the research project. It is not a knowledge for knowledge's sake. It is a knowledge for social transformation, for the better quality of life, for the better justice and opportunities for the people who are underserved. The lessons learned from implementation of these projects are such that policies can be formulated and implemented. In the post-pandemic world, some of the mind-boggling challenges that demand policies from the nation state were taken up as research topics in Cohort 1 by the participants. Important topics such as digital divide, the challenges and responses of the state government and the national government, budgeting by the local self-government bodies for disaster management, whether it is a health disaster or the floods or the climate change crisis, out-of-pocket health expenditure in public and private healthcare services, public-private partnership in the health system, implementation of PCP&DT Act in the urban context, child labor in the post-pandemic period, evaluation of Skill India missions, Stand Up India and Startup India missions, challenges faced by women workers in the mining industry, curbing plastic pollution in the city with special reference to urban commons and monsoon season, status of pension provisions for elderly in slums or informal neighborhood with special focus on access, adequacy, and emerging needs, understanding gender-based violence in the context of dowry-related cases or the domestic violence-related cases, assessing the impact of Ujjwala Yojana, improvement in clean fuel for household cooking, opportunities and challenges towards access to finance for self-employed, with special reference to PM Mudra Yojana, were taken up by the researchers. Now you all must have got several videos and the documentation about what happened in the Cohort 1. Now we are going to have in this course coordinated learning and guidance. All of you will have a mentor. You will have a seasoned researchers, resource persons, experts with interdisciplinary understanding or the super specialization in one particular subject who will be in touch with you. They will be accessible. You can contact them on email, on WhatsApp, and you can also deliberate upon and improvise your work that you are doing in your research. Third aspect is very important effect is the interaction and critical reflection, because this qualitative research action research program will be conducted through the interactive Zoom meeting. After the brief presentation by the resource person, we expect the lively discussions, sharing of ideas, clearing of queries and doubts, and the guidance from the resource persons, and also refining the research objectives, vision, mission, and also the modalities in which the research would be conducted in a brief period of time that you have before your submission in the month of April. The fieldwork and publication opportunities will also be provided in this course, because the field work would be according to your convenience, where you are placed. That would determine the kind of method that you will be using, and your mobility is also very important in that. And if you come up with a good, rigorous, robust research, there will be IMPRI will see to it that it is published in a peer-reviewed journal of IMPRI or in the edited volume of IMPRI with ISBN. Participants will have to take pictures. You are expected to make small video clips of your field research that would enhance the evidences that you are creating. And the first month, like this month, mid-December, when we are starting this course, the focus will be on orientation, research methodology classes, research tool preparation, and the stakeholders mapping. In the month of January, mid-January, you will start your pilot and the fieldwork. If that you feel that the pilot demands changes in the original research abstract that you have given, the possibilities are there. And the research writing and reporting, even the whole grammar of research writing and reporting would be, and modalities and the processes will be explained to you. In the month of March, you would be doing fieldwork and also reporting. You will be in touch with the IMPRI team about whatever challenges that you are facing about your fieldwork. And finally, in the month of April, you will be preparing your draft report analysis, and you will have to submit your report and report review, and will be done by the IMPRI team in consultation with you on an individual basis or in a group. Deliberations with the resource persons in the sessions and the successful completion of research project by the end of course in April 2024. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for walking us through the introduction of this program. Moving forward, I am delighted to invite Professor Vijay Raghavanji, Professor, Center for Criminology and Justice, School of Social Work, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, TISC, Mumbai, for his inaugural session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, IMPRI, for firstly inviting me to speak to the participants in this inaugural session. I also thank Professor Vibhuti Patel, who's an old colleague of mine, and I've known her for many years, but not only as a colleague but also as a scholar. I'm sorry, can I just take a short 1-minute break? There's somebody at the door. These are the problems of sorry, that was gas के मीटिंग का रीडिंग लेने आए हैं. So anyway, as I was saying, Professor Vibhuti Patel is a renowned scholar, and it's really a pleasure and to kind of associate with anything that she's associated with. So let me just start by making one clarification, which in Professor Vibhuti Patel's opening remarks, she mentioned that I was associated with a study on shelter homes for children, which led to a lot of policy changes. Just want to clarify that that study was not by me. It was done by a colleague of mine called Mohammed Tariq, who is director of a field action project of TISS called Koshish. And it was Koshish which was working in Bihar. And they did the study on, situation of shelter homes at the invitation of the government of Bihar Social Welfare Department. And that led to, a national scandal almost, because it was brought out that there are children who are being sexually and physically abused in many of these shelter homes. It led to cases being filed. And one of them, the main shelter home in Muzaffarpur, he has been arrested, convicted, and is behind bars and I think out on bail now. I'm not sure. So I am associated with Koshish as in an advisory capacity, but the credit for this study and for the work goes to Koshish team, which is led by Mohammed Tariq from TISS. If I can be allowed to do share screen, I would like to use a PPT.
Sure, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, and it is 11:53 now. If I can be told how much time is there for me to speak, I can record accordingly pitch my talk.
Sir, about
half an
half an hour. Okay, fine. Okay. In case I exceed half an hour, please don't hesitate to kind of interrupt and tell me that my time is over, and I'll wind up within 2 minutes. I don't think I will go on till half an hour. I might end earlier than that, because it will be much better to have an interactive session with the participants. Would it be possible for them to ask questions in this forum?
yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. Will it be on a chat box, or will it be?
So they can unmute and ask themselves also.
Okay, fine. Okay. Because sometimes what happens is in the chat box, I miss the questions.
So we'll read out if somebody.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I thought that I would break up this topic into two interrelated sections. So one is, what is meant by participatory action research or participatory methodologies of research? Very, very basic. And then go into what we can call as policy influenced research and how these two come together. And then I would spend more of my time in actually talking from live examples of such kind of researchers that I have been associated with through Prayas, which is a field action project of the TISS, Center for Criminology and Justice in the School of Social Work. I've been associated with this field action project since its inception in 1990. So that is about 33 and a half, nearly 34 years. So if you talk about participatory action research, some of the main points that, or bullet points that one can talk about is there on this first slide, that any research that involves the participants to collaborate with the researcher to get an understanding about social issues or socio-political issues or socio-economic, socio-cultural issues, and is aimed towards taking some action which will lead to some kind of change, whether it is social change or policy change. This is what one can broadly define as participatory action research. It is an umbrella term for a range of approaches that are used, whereby you can engage stakeholders at every step of the research process. So, there are, many kind of approaches. For example, PRA is one, which is participatory rural appraisal. Community mapping is one where you actually sit with the community and you identify who are the demographics of the community, the caste, the gender dimensions, in terms of who lives where, the location of different communities in a community, in a village. You look at what kind of resources are available, where is the tube well, where are the toilets. All these things can be identified very, very effectively if you engage in a community mapping exercise. You also can build very good village profiles if you engage it through this community mapping or these PRA exercises that one talks about. One can also look at qualitative research methods. For example, when you use, particularly when you are looking at an exploratory research design, and in that process, you are using qualitative research methodologies, which may be use of in-depth interviews or in narratives, case studies, focus group discussions. Also, when you are doing any kind of research which involves, for example, you can do research by having a meeting with the stakeholders. Sometimes we have used methods like doing a workshop with stakeholders and documenting that process, because a lot of data that comes out through these kind of interactive sessions may not sometimes emerge if you do one-to-one discussions. So all of these approaches can be broadly clubbed under what we can call as participatory action research. The other thing about action research is that the action component is absolutely crucial for that research to be called an action research. So one of the ways in which action research can be done is that you start an intervention and you document every step of that process, and you come up with findings based on the interventions that have taken place. A very recent example of this kind of action research I can give is a study that we have done. Two of my colleagues, Dr. Sharon Menezes from the Center for Criminology and Justice, and Mohammed Tariq, about whom I just mentioned. The three of us undertook an action research study to look at the possibility of creating child-safe environments in communities at the invitation of the Commissioner of Police, Meera Bhandar Vasai. So actually how it happened was that the Commissioner of Police at that time, he has now been transferred, Dr. Sadanand Date, who was the Commissioner of Meera Bhandar Vasai Police Commissionerate, in 2021 approached the Director of TISS saying that after he took charge as the Commissioner of Police, there are a few police stations where cases of elopement, running away of boys and girls, missing children, and sexual abuse of children are quite high compared to the other police stations. And number of cases are coming of these types, where a young boy has, eloped with a minor girl, or a girl has been lured by an older man to leave the house and go away somewhere, or cases where there have been, some people who have been, even trafficking of girls, etc. And as a police commissioner, he said that I'm taking whatever action that I have to take under the law, but I want to understand why this is happening and what can be done to prevent these kind of situations. So our director asked us to undertake a study, and we got a grant from the Research Council of TISS to conduct this study. And what we did through this study was we appointed 2 social workers, female social workers, to get attached to the commissionerate office. And we located the police stations. There were 3 police stations that we decided to make it our base. And in these 3 police stations, these 2 social workers started visiting on a very regular basis, interacting with the police, and also trying to understand the kind of complaints that come to the police station relating to cases of women and children. Also started having meetings with the community leaders, and particularly from those communities where such cases were coming up, local groups, CBOs. And another thing that they did was organized a series of awareness sessions and programs with different groups. So one of the major groups with whom they did these sessions on a continuous basis was school children, especially in the secondary school, in all the municipal schools, and in also the Zilla Parishad and the private schools in that area. And all these sessions were taken in collaboration with the police. The one understanding that we had from the beginning was that this has to be a project of the police. So it should not be seen as, TISS is doing something, but it should be seen as the police is doing something in collaboration with TISS. A nodal officer was appointed by the commissioner who would be our contact person, and all the police stations were informed about it. There was a meeting held with the senior PIs of senior police inspectors of all the police stations where we were planning to start the intervention, and they were oriented about what the kind of work that we are going to start. This project was, run for 1 year, and based on the findings, we have come up with a report, which is now in its final stages. And based on this report, we will submit it to the police to say what kind of steps need to be taken if the police were to create an ecosystem where one can prevent cases of sexual abuse or physical abuse of children, or also the kind of information that a young adult should have about safe sex, about the issue of what are the consequences if a minor girl goes away with either a minor boy or with an older man, how there are criminal provisions under POCSO which become very difficult for the person to get out of once you get arrested. So all these things have been documented, and recommendations are being made through this report. And we hope that the police will look at it and take it forward. And one of the major recommendations that we have made is that you need to appoint social workers in the police system, because the kind of role that social workers play is something that it is difficult for the police to play. So this is just one example of the kind of action research that can be undertaken. Another important thing about any kind of participatory research approach is that it tries to involve the relevant parties to the extent possible. Now here it means the affected community or the participants, and the people nearby living in those areas, and anybody else who's associated with the issue. And this involvement can be at various stages. In fact, at as many stages as it is possible. So which means defining the research problem, developing the research questions, then collecting data, analyzing the data, and making reaching the findings and recommendations. At all stages, one can actually do this process. I'll give you another example of something like this that we tried. Some years back, we had done a small study about the rehabilitation of girls coming out of children's institutions. That is, those girls who had spent their entire period of their young age in children's institutions till they completed the age of 18. And after that, what happened to them? Where did they go? What is the condition of their lives right now? And it was very, very difficult to do a study like this because most of those people were not available. There is no information and database about these women. In fact, once a child completes 18 years of age, the child has to leave the institution. And then usually they are handed over to their families, or if they are 18, they can, go about their lives as per their wishes because, they are adults. And there is not much follow-up and data kept by the Department of Women and Child Development in terms of what happens to these girls once they leave the institution. There is something called an aftercare hostel for girls in 1 or 2 districts in Maharashtra. But again, not everybody reaches these aftercare homes. One of our social workers, in fact, was a social worker in one such home before she had joined Prayas. And she had this experience that these girls get lost, they might get pulled into sex work, or they might go into crime. Also, during our work in prison, we also found quite a few women, not quite a few, but at least a few women in prison who had come from an institutional background. That means, they had lived in a childcare institution and had completed 18 years of age, and then they had, fallen into some wrong company and, some men who had lured them into crime, and they were into, crimes like pickpocketing and chain snatching, etc. That again raised a question in our minds that what is the use if a childcare institution is living in a childcare institution is leading the inmates or the residents to end up in crime or commercial sex, then really what is the purpose of these institutions? And it was in that context that we decided. So this social worker was in touch with some 2-3 of these girls many, many years after they had been released from the institution. And it was just a personal relationship that she had with them. And she started talking to them. And then in turn, through a process of snowballing, we ended up interviewing, if I remember right, about 35 such girls who were now at various stages of their life. Some of them were well past their 30s. Some of them were still young in their 20s, etc. And that study, all qualitative in-depth interviews, and it was quite difficult because they were not living in the same city. Some of them were living in other districts in Maharashtra. So, they had to either do telephonic interviews or sometimes go and visit those women in those places, etc. And through that process, we identified again what are the vulnerabilities that girls face who live in children's institutions, and what kind of facilities should be created for them when they come out from these institutions. What kind of preparation should be done to make sure that their lives, become useful lives when they leave the institution. And this is particularly true for orphan children, where there is no family support. When we collected the data, we did one round of analysis of the data, basically thematic analysis of the qualitative data, which means identifying themes from the interviews and then categorizing the data under those themes. But then we decided that we don't stop there. We took out the broad findings based on this thematic analysis, and we had if I remember, 2-day workshop with all the staff of Prayas, who are all social workers, who have worked with women in different situations. So Prayas works with women in prison, Prayas works with women in shelter homes, women's institutions where destitute women come, and also women who are rescued from commercial sexual exploitation. And so it was a good number of team members, about 30 of them. And we read out the interviews before, all the staff. And the staff then identified issues from those reading of those interviews and identified themes and sub-themes. And then we matched the themes and sub-themes that had come from this workshop with the thematic analysis that we had done. And then we created the final list of themes and sub-themes for this study. So this is another example where you involve stakeholders. Now here in this case, the stakeholders were the social workers. If it was possible, it would have been ideal to go back to those same girls and women whom they had been interviewed, and the findings could have been shared with them. But unfortunately, that was not possible in the given circumstances. So to what extent you can involve the participants of your study is something that will differ from case to case. But I am just talking about the approach. The approach has to be to see how much we can involve the people who are part of the problem. And this is particularly relevant in areas where I would say the knowledge that is available about those issues is scanty or not enough. Because if you're going to use this approach for all kinds of studies, it may not be so useful. We are particularly talking about issues where there is not enough research done, there is not enough knowledge available, especially in the indigenous Indian context. Because many of these issues that we talk about, the literature is largely Western, and there is not enough indigenous literature that is available in the Indian context. So in those kind of situations, it is good to involve the stakeholders. And when I say stakeholders, I don't only mean the participants. I would also include government officials, NGOs working in that field, etc., because all of them have some kind of understanding and knowledge about the issue that we are talking about. So in very simple terms, we can say participatory action research is the kind of studies that engage those who are close to the problem. So anybody, in your opinion, who is close to the problem. So who are the people who are close to the problem? If we are talking about, let's say, the example that I gave of, women and girls who have lived in children's institutions or women's institutions, people close to the problem would be the women themselves, the girls themselves. It would include family members of these girls and women. It would include the social workers who have worked with these girls and women at some stage. It would include NGOs. It would include government department officers, probation officers, superintendents, caretakers, guards. It can involve those people. And it can also involve policymakers, because they are making policies about these people, right? So what is their experience? Why are they designing certain kinds of policies? For example, many of these institutions, particularly women's institutions, they are closed institutions. Even though they are dealing with adults, the women are not able to go out of the institution very easily. And the fear is that if they go out and something happens to them, suppose sexual abuse happens to them, then the authorities who are running those institutions will be held responsible by their seniors in the department. They might get suspended or dismissed from service, etc., etc. And that is the reason why many times these institutional girls are not allowed to go out of the institution, which is a real burden and hurdle for them for their future rehabilitation processes. Because if they don't have interaction with the outside world, when they come out, one of the things that we found from our study was that social skills of these girls were very poor. They were not able to form relationships with people, and they were sometimes very trusting of people who could exploit them in some ways or the other. So therefore, it was important for us to study. This is how I would say that when you say somebody is close to the problem, you look at who are the people who have some understanding and knowledge about the issue that we are talking about. And the other thing about participatory action research that I would like to highlight here is that it strives to bring about some kind of a change. There is an action component in any participatory action research. You want to bring about an intervention, and in that process, you want to do research. Now, coming to the second part of what I wanted to speak about, and that is what is policy-influenced research? I mean, in a way, all research is supposed to influence policy. Otherwise, what's the point of doing any kind of research? Research is supposed to generate knowledge. Research is supposed to inform people, and research is supposed to influence policy. So what is so different when we say policy-influenced research? The difference, perhaps, is that a policy-influenced research, just a minute, there is some construction work going on. I just want to close the windows. Come back. Thank you. So I would say the difference of policy influence research is it is aimed at changing policy. That's the main focus of a policy influenced research. So when you're conducting a research or you're analyzing something which has to do with a social problem, but you want to provide inputs to policymakers. So this example of this action research that I told you about, this Meera Bhainder Vasai Virar Police, is an example of policy influenced research, because it was the commissioner of police who approached TISS and said, please do something about this. Tell us what we should do, right? And therefore, it is aimed at policy. So when we started the whole exercise, what we had paramount in our mind was, how do we give some kind of roadmap to the police in terms of what kind of steps do they need to take to create communities which are safe for children. The other thing that I would like to say is that any kind of policy research has to be from ground to policy, which means that you need to have a very good understanding of the ground level issues. And that kind of understanding comes from people who have worked in that field for many, many years. A complete novice or a complete fresher in a field, my personal opinion is not a very good person to conduct policy research, because they don't have a basic understanding of the issues that are involved, right? So if you're going to talk about, doing a research on, say, rehabilitation of prisoners, it would be good if that research, policy research, is being undertaken by somebody who has some experience of working on the issue of rehabilitation of prisoners, and not somebody who has absolutely no understanding of the issue, because a lot of time will get lost or wasted in for that person to reach a point where, sometimes I find people talking about findings and recommendations which are so up in the air. It's so superficial that it really makes no difference to either to knowledge or to policy. So this is a very important point I want to make from my own experience and from our own experience, that we have always taken up research around those issues on which we have worked for a significant number of years, and then found that there is a need now to do some research around this, because our intervention alone is not helping in bringing out some kind of a policy level change. The second point that needs to be looked at when we are looking at policy influence research is, how do we involve the participants and the stakeholders? Because everybody talks about participation today. It's become the buzzword, participatory approaches and participatory methodologies. Now, how does one do it? Now, the very typical way of doing any kind of participatory research or participatory approaches and methodologies is already there in what we call as qualitative research methodologies. So when you do in-depth interviews, or when you do narratives, or when you do focus group discussions, et cetera, they are all examples of participatory research, according to me, because you are involving the participants of the study. You are building a rapport with them. You are trying to understand things from their point of view, from their perspective, and you are trying to make sure that you are not imposing your ideas on them. You are getting into their minds and into their selves. So all of this involves some kind of participatory methods, but it may not be sometimes possible to carry out these kind of approaches in all kinds of situations. So some of the other ways by which you can do participatory approaches in terms of involving the participants and the stakeholders is through workshops and meetings. We have found this to be a very useful way of collecting data, whereby, recently, I'll give you an example. We had conducted a one-day workshop for superintendents of women's shelter homes at TISS through Prayas. Now, why did we decide to do this? We have been working in the field of women's shelter homes for donkey's years, and we pretty much know what the issues and problems are, in terms of what are the gaps in rehabilitation and what should be done. But if we have to make it data-based, and because without data, government doesn't listen. If you just go and talk to a government officer, a senior officer, and say, this is my experience on this issue, he might appreciate you, but it may not lead to any policy change. He will say, do you have a report? Do you have some data on this? And that is where the issue of policy-based research becomes very important. So what we decided was, why don't we call all the superintendents of these institutions for a meeting, like a one-day workshop, and ask them to document and tell us what are the problems that they are facing in the rehab process, what are some of the good practices that they have adopted to facilitate rehab, and what they think should be done to improve the policy environment as far as rehabilitation is concerned. So we spoke to the WCD department and said, why don't we do this jointly? So they were very happy to do an exercise like this, and especially because we were going to fund it. So if you ask them for money, then they will probably not be so proactive. So we organized this workshop. The commissioner of the Department of Women and Child Development came for the inaugural session, and two of the deputy commissioners, women welfare, were present in that workshop, and all the women's shelter home superintendents, also NGOs working for the rehabilitation of women in commercial sex, as well as prayer staff. These were the people who were part of this workshop. And we had divided the whole workshop into 3 sessions. Session 1 was to listen to the challenges in rehab from the perspective of the shelter home superintendents. Session 2 was to listen to the challenges in rehabilitation from the perspective of NGOs. And session 3 was to discuss and come up with recommendations. So not fill it up with too many sessions, just have 3 basic sessions. And we had, got a couple of people to document that whole process, and appointed somebody who will prepare a report based on the the narratives or whatever had come out from that workshop. So this report has now been finalized. It is going to be submitted to the Department of Women and Child Development. And before submitting it, another round of consultation we did was we sent it to the Deputy Commissioner, Women Welfare, and Commissioner to say, please go through this and see if this is okay for as far as you're concerned. Do you have anything to add to this? And so that we have taken their buy-in before we submit it officially. And so we got their comments. There were hardly any comments. They were quite happy with the report. And now we will submit it to the Commissioner with copy to the Secretary. And we also want at some point to maybe invite, do like a report release function, and invite the chairperson of the State Women's Commission to come and release that report. And at the same time, in the meanwhile, we have developed a short film on the issue of challenges of rehabilitation of women from both from prison as well as from shelter homes. And we plan to release that film on that day when we do this report release function. And maybe, if possible, call some people from the media who are, friendly to our issues and causes. And that will create some kind of a buzz. And that in turn will help in, taking this report forward. So if you can see the way I am sharing the experiences with you, the whole purpose of this exercise is to come about with some kind of changes in the policy level. And so you have to do all the things that you need to do. It is not only about doing a very kind of serious effort at research, coming up with some very, very well thought out ideas and findings and recommendations, documenting it in a way that makes it palatable for policymakers in simple language, not using all kinds of academic jargon, which we might use that same data tomorrow to write an academic paper on it, in which case we will do a theoretical framework and things of that sort. But for a report like this, we will keep it simple, we will keep it clear and succinct, and then we will use whatever methods are available at our disposal to kind of make sure that there is some change in the policy. Therefore, one of the important things in this policy influence research is the dissemination process. Just your job doesn't end when you have completed the research and submitted the report to somebody. Your job, in fact, starts there. Because after you have completed the study, you have to take it to everybody concerned. You have to try and take it to the public, first of all, because that will create some kind of public opinion about the issue. You have to take it to senior levels of the bureaucracy and some independent bodies like commissions, etc. And I think you need to take it to the media. So these are the different ways by which dissemination is possible. You have to put it up on your website. You have to send copies of the soft copies of the report to other people who are working in this field, saying we have done this study, just see if it's of any use to you, use it in whatever way you want to use it, etc. Sometimes take the report to court. And I will give examples of that. So now I'll come to the last part, which is giving you 3 or 4 examples. I will take just 2 examples because I think time is up. One is our work in the area of children of prisoners. We started work in prison in 1990 in the women's section and in the young male adult section at Arthur Road Jail. The women's section used to be at Arthur Road Jail then. Now it is in Baikula Women's Jail. When we started work in the women's section, one of the first things that we confronted was women telling us that we are very worried about the children who are left outside. And please go and visit our families and see what is happening to those children. Where are they? Who are they living with? Are they getting food? Are they going to school? Are they healthy? All these kind of questions. This indicated 2 things. One is families were not coming to visit them, so they didn't have any idea about what is happening with their children. 2 is their children could be at serious risk, either of destitution or of mental health problems or even being victimized, etc., etc. So we started making home visits. Our social workers would make home visits. And within a year or 2, we realized that there is a need to create a separate unit only to focus on children of prisoners within Prayas. So we set up a children of prisoners unit within Prayas, and focus was on children of women prisoners. Because our understanding and to some extent our finding was that children of women prisoners are more vulnerable than children of male prisoners. And that is because of the typical stereotypical society in which we live. If a man gets arrested, his wife is usually there to look after the children. But if a woman gets arrested, it's usually a case where the man has either abandoned her, or the man is a dysfunctional person, is an alcoholic, himself an antisocial person, and things of that sort. In many cases, women are arrested for the murder of their husbands because of long years of torture. And in that case, the in-laws side of the family usually come and take over the children, take custody of the children, and they completely deny any kind of access to the mother, to the children, because they think that the mother is the killer of their son. And they also poison the minds of the child against the mother. So we felt that there is a need to start a unit for children of prisoners. When we started a unit, within a year or 2, we could make out the services that we were providing was very, very important and was making a huge difference to the lives of these children. So it meant keeping regular contact with those children. It meant making home visits. It meant making phone calls. It meant helping those children to come and meet their mothers once in a while for mulaqat. We've gone through, gut-wrenching cases of a mother meeting her child after 10 years, and absolutely hysterical scenes happening inside the prison because of, the whole emotional kind of situation. And we also started providing educational support to these children so that they don't drop out of school, and regular counseling. Then we felt that just doing this work is not enough, because we are just based in one city and the problem is much larger. Also, this is a completely invisible group. In fact, when we talk about children in difficult circumstances, which is one of the categories of the National Child Policy, children of prisoners is usually not mentioned as a category of children in difficult circumstances because it's an invisible group. Firstly, their numbers are not very high because there's no head count that has been done. And 2 is that they are not visible to the general public. Street children are visible, children in institutions are visible, but this group of children are not visible. So we decided to do a study, and Prayas undertook a study which was located in 2 cities, Mumbai and Delhi. We got permission from the IG Prisons Bihar and from the IG Prisons Maharashtra. And we took 2 cities, Mumbai and Delhi. And it was a qualitative study that was done, whereby mothers inside were interviewed, children outside were interviewed, and their family members were interviewed. And officials were interviewed, jail staff, police, judges, all the other stakeholders, lawyers, etc. And this led to a study called Post-Separation, Children of Imprisoned Mothers. 2002, it was published by Prayas. It is available on the Prayas website. So in fact, if you type on Google, Post-Separation, Children of Imprisoned Mothers, you would get a scanned copy of the book. Now, in 2006, there was a PIL going on in the Supreme Court of India. And that PIL is called R.D. Upadhyay versus State of Andhra Pradesh and others. Now, in that PIL, the court was hearing the issue of facilities for children of prisoners. So we thought this is a great opportunity for us to go and try and influence policy. And because we had the report with us, we had the study with us, we had copies of the book with us, we went to Delhi and we met the amicus curiae in that case. At that time, it was an advocate called Ranjit Kumar. And we met him in his office and we gave him a copy of our book. and we told him that we would like you to include the findings. Our book had a last chapter called Whose Responsibility? And in that, we have outlined the responsibility of different departments in with regard to the issue of children of prisoners. So the advocate said, okay, I will go through this. You come back to me after a week. And then we went back again, and he said, this is a wonderful book, very good findings, and I'm going to produce it before the court. And so you make a summary of this, of the main findings and the recommendations. So we prepared that and we gave it to him, and he produced it in court. And the final orders that were passed in 2006 acknowledges the report of Prayas in it, the Supreme Court judgment. And there are detailed guidelines that have been issued by the Supreme Court with regard to children in prison with their mothers. Unfortunately, the issue of children left outside was not highlighted. I have to stop?
No, sir,
Please
you
go
can
ahead.
Okay. How much? 5 minutes or what?
So you can take your time. It's all right.
Okay. No, I won't take too much time. So on that basis, we decided that, okay, at least one part is done, which is the situation of children inside. There are detailed guidelines which are available, and states have to implement it, and some of it has been implemented. For example, the court said that there should be a balwadi cum creche for children living inside prison with their mothers, preferably outside the prison. And that is there in many places in the country today, including in Maharashtra. Then the court had said that when a child is born in prison, the birth certificate should not mention the name of the jail. And this was again our recommendation, because we had found cases where the name of the jail was mentioned in the birth certificate of the child. So many such recommendations and guidelines have been issued, which are, I won't say fully implemented, but at least partly implemented. The second issue of children left outside kept boiling in our head that we need to do something about it. And we got an opportunity in 2014 when we went and met a Juvenile Justice Committee of the Bombay High Court and made a presentation about this issue. And at the end of the meeting, the judge who was in charge of the Juvenile Justice Committee, Justice Kanade, he told us that I'm going to convert your book into a suo motu PIL and appoint you as the amicus curiae in this case. And so a PIL got filed in 2014, and Prayas was appointed as the amicus. And again, as a result of this PIL, number of good orders were passed. Final orders were passed in 2017, which includes, creating posts of female probation officers in all women's prisons in Maharashtra, starting with 9 jails. So, in fact, just recently, from 2017 onwards, we have been following up the matter. And now a GR has been issued by the government of Maharashtra, whereby probation officers are going to be appointed in these 9 jails. We also said that there is a scheme of the government of Maharashtra called Bal Sangopan Yojana, which is a foster care scheme for children. So we told the court that the amount under the scheme is very less. It is just 425 rupees per child per month. Increase the amount. The court passed an order saying increase the amount. So now that amount has been increased to 2,250 rupees per child per month. So number of such suggestions of Prayas have been included in that final order. I will just talk about one more example and then I'll stop for today. Somewhere in 2000s, there was an article in the Indian Express about corruption in the Mulakat shed, where prisoners' families come to meet their family members. Because, people come, they don't know whom to meet, they don't know whom to talk, how the procedure, and there are people there who take money from them to arrange the Mulakat. Now, that was based on, an activist called Bhagwanji Rayyani, who had written about this issue, and Indian Express had carried that piece. The based on that article, Bhagwanji Rayyani wrote to the Lokayukt of Maharashtra, saying, see, this is example of corruption. and as Lokayukt, you should do something about it. And the Lokayukt at that time was retired Bombay High Court Judge, Justice Stipnis. He took cognizance of it, asked the government to say what is going to be done to, prevent all these malpractices. And he asked Prayas to do a small study to look at the situation and come up with findings and recommendations. So this was again a golden opportunity for us. So our team went around in the different jails in Maharashtra. We studied the Mulakat procedures. We spoke to family members. We spoke to the prisoners. We spoke to jail staff, asking them what do they think should be done to improve the Mulakat system. And based on that, we gave the report to the Lokayukt. And the Lokayukt then passed detailed directions to the government of Maharashtra, which included many of our suggestions. And that led to a good amount of improvement in the Mulakat system and facilities. For example, instead of the wire mesh, this was a very simple suggestion we had made. Instead of the wire mesh, we said that create glass partitions and create cubicles so that people can talk to their family members in some kind of a privacy, instead of everybody shouting at the top of their voice, and provide an intercom system so that they can speak to each other through the intercom. So that was implemented. So many such suggestions. There used to be a form which had to be filled up if you wanted to meet somebody. And that was a cause for corruption, because there was somebody standing there who would say, isko bharne ka 5 rupiya lenge, in those days. So that again was stopped, and they said they will just write it on a register. So no need for a form and things of that sort. So many such things happened. Now that we decided is not enough, and we need to take this to a national scale. And so we decided to do a study of best practices in Mulakat across different states. We did some initial fact finding, identified 4 states where we felt that the Mulakat system was functioning much better than many other states. So we took Tamil Nadu, we took Delhi, we took Maharashtra, and we took one more state, Haryana. And our team went to these 4 states with the permission of the prison authorities, because we went to them saying, you are known to be the best. So we want to document your good practices. So any jail authority would be very happy for that. And then we interviewed family members, we interviewed prisoners, we interviewed jail staff. We witnessed the procedures that they follow for Mulakat and all of that. And then prepared a study which came out with the findings and again with a set of recommendations. Then the next step was how to take this ahead. Now the report is ready, but who's going to read it? So we approached the Academy of Prisons and Correctional Administration. There is a nodal institute. And we wrote to the director of the institute saying, we have done this study. Now, can you organize a meeting with DG Prisons where we can present the findings of the study? He was very happy because it gave him an opportunity to, showcase the fact that they are doing something positive. And then he organized a series of webinars with the northern states, the southern states, and the eastern and western states, where we presented the findings of our report and the recommendations that we went. And we also sent a copy of the report highlighting the major recommendations to the DG prisons across the country. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to take it beyond that. And that's a job that I would say remains unfinished. And this is also to tell you that sometimes when you're doing policy research, you can only go this far and no further. Because, as they say, you can take a horse to the water, but you cannot force it to drink. Yeah. So if you find a good officer who will pick up the point that you have made, your raw material should be so good that it will help that officer to take that issue forward. So I will stop here. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you. 。 。
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing such an insightful session with us. I would now like to open the floor for Q&A. I'd like to request the participants that you can either type in the chat box, you can use the Q&A box, or you can raise your hands and ask your questions yourselves as well. So we're gonna wait for like a minute or so the questions can come in, if that's okay. Okay, participants, you can write in the Q&A box, we'll read it out, chat box, we'll read it out, or you can raise your hand and you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, am I audible? Good
Yes.
afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. So my question is very specific. Like, if in case a person is doing research on, let's say, implementation policy research of POXO, right? So in this case, if one of the stakeholders is like the victims, the children who are like facing child sexual abuse,
yes.
in that case, is it like advisable to interview the kids, like because the children who have gone through the same, either we like how to go on in that scenario with the research, like the interview process, because jo bacche hain, they are like below the age, we can like divide their scenario ki after crossing 18 what's their view of their past, but agar on the ground at the very time of the incident what they are facing and what's their concern in the process of access of justice under POXO, in that scenario how to go with the research,
I think आपका सवाल बहुत ही valid है, बहुत ही relevant है. Thank you for asking this question.
Thank you, sir.
मेरा opinion ये है कि ऐसे situations में हमें उन बच्चों को interview नहीं करना चाहिए. Because if the child has undergone a certain kind of trauma, then there is no point in repeating the trauma of the child. But if you want to do it, you have to do it in the presence of people whom the child can trust. So, for example, you could, so one way of doing it would be, instead of interviewing the children, you could interview the social workers or the people who have worked with the child, counselors or social workers, and because they know about the issue, they have dealt with many, many such cases. So you will get good data from them. That is one option. The other option is, in this shelter home abuse case that, was at this Bihar shelter home case, the Koshish team, the way they went about it was a very sensitive issue. How does one, talk about something like this? So what they did was, when they would go to a shelter home, they would first engage in very normal chat with those children about their lives, about their situation there. There was no hint being given to the child that we have come here to look at and investigate cases of abuse, etc. Make those children very comfortable. And another thing that they used to do was make sure that no official from the shelter home was allowed to be present when they would interact with these children. In fact, many attempts were being made by these shelter home officials to get to know what was being discussed with those children. But the team was very, very firm that they would not allow anyone else other than the children to remain present in the room. And then also, they did not ask any direct questions of abuse. They created an environment where they talked about their life in the shelter home. And it was through those conversations that, children started talking about, some of the problems that they were facing inside. And then if they identified a child who they thought was perhaps being abused in some way or the other, then they would take that child separately and talk to that child. So you have to find different ways by which you have to to this, but the question is very, very relevant, that you have to be very careful of involving participants when you're talking about issues like sexual abuse or physical abuse, or people who have, like, say, for example, if you want to find out, whether people were, what kind of treatment was given to people in police custody, and you want to do an interview of the people when they are still in custody, it can be dangerous to those people, because the prison system would be keeping a watch on what they are talking, and they might suffer consequences of that later on. So you have to decide who you want to speak to, where, and at what time. We have recently done a study on people released on bail and what are the challenges they faced in accessing bail. And we decided to do that study by interviewing people who have been released from bail, because then they are in a much more freer environment to talk. So, I mean, your question is valid and needs to be thought about before we involve participants.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, like, basically, what my concern is, see, I am a practicing advocate in Rajasthan High Court,
Okay.
as well as I see the cases in the District Court of Jaipur.
Okay.
Right? So, I am helping kids and children and rape victims since past 5 to 6 years on pro bono basis.
Okay.
So, what type of cases we get is, like, children do come, there are cases of POXO thereafter. Like, obviously we know कि घर वालों के ऊपर they put pressure and all, and after that बच्चे change कर देते हैं statement. Moreover, ये तो सर complain वाली cases हैं, जो complain के लिए नहीं FIR दर्ज होता है. In those cases are the ones in which dad is himself abusing the daughter, or brother is abusing.
Correct.
In
Correct.
those cases, like snowball ke through, I know the kids. But after, like, if once they have matured, after that, if you take their interview और मतलब बातों को आप थोड़ा सा अलग वे में पूछोगे, that can be feasible. But if I know the victims exactly due to my work nature and all, so will it be like advisable to talk to those kids? क्योंकि
सर, मेरा सजेशन ये होगा कि आप ना किसी काउंसलर्स को साथ में रख के बात करेंगे तो शायद वो बेटर होगा, बिकॉज दे विल ऑल्सो इंश्योर दैट आपका बच्चे का इंटरेस्ट हार्म नहीं हो रहा है किसी भी तरीके से. सो एक्चुअली दिस इज not really my area of work, so I am not able to give you very concrete suggestions, but I can definitely connect you with organizations who are working on POXO cases and also working towards conviction of offenders, where they have to interact with the victims in a very sensitive way. So if you want, you can email me. I can connect you with those organizations and you can interact with them. But my general advice would be that when you want such kinds of information, it is always good to have somebody present who the child can trust.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I'll definitely make a point of it. Rest apart, sir, please, if like I can get your email ID.
Yeah, you get my email ID. Yes, no problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And one more thing, sir. So these interviews, whatever we'll be getting after results, because I'm myself like pursuing my PhD from Gujarat National Law University.
Okay,
also.
okay,
like,
okay.
I have got my admission like in 2023 itself, August.
Okay,
so
okay.
My research area will be this only. So these interviews, I'll be including them in the annexures, right?
Yes, yes, yeah. Only thing is you have to do it through informed consent.
Yes, sir, definitely, sir. Definitely, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So we have one question from Alkaji in the chat box. She won't be able to unmute. I'll read it out, if that's okay.
Yeah.
She says, hello, sir. I'm doing research on challenges faced by women construction workers while working on construction sites. Sorry, this is Sneha Ramani's question. So if you can do that first, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so she says, I'm doing research on challenges faced by women construction workers while working on construction sites and the coping mechanisms framed by workers. How do one overcome the barriers, get their narratives of challenges? As many a times, the workers are either not vocal about the challenges, maybe due to power differentials on sites, or they're dependent on their husband to speak?
Yeah. Well, very, very, again, superb, excellent question. The only way I can think of is that you don't straight away start interviewing them. You spend time with them. You find a way to build some kind of a rapport with them. I'll give you an example, of a very different example. We were doing a study of minority communities amongst the nomadic and denotified tribes. One of the communities we had identified were the Bharatiya Irani community, and the location was a slum area near Pune, near the railway station. It took us 3 weeks to just get entry into the community because they were totally untrusting of outsiders. So these social workers, these researchers used to keep going there and, saying that we want to do this study and, please allow us to talk to your family members, etc. And I think after 2 or 3 weeks, those guys took pity on these staff that log roz aake idhar baith jate hain, and then they said, "Theek hai, aap aa sakte ho." So building trust and building rapport is very important. But in a case like this, you're also going to face kind of resistance from the brick kiln owners and their supervisors. They are not likely to allow you to, work. Sorry, this is construction workers, right?
Yeah, this is construction workers.
Sorry, yeah.
Actually,
so even there, the construction site supervisors are not going to allow you access. So you will probably have to meet them after working hours. That's number one. And number two, the thing that you're talking about, resistance from husbands, that's going to be a big challenge. So maybe you could organize some cultural program or activities, some kind of, another way of doing it is to organize an information camp on some scheme. Say maybe, this Ayushman Bharat scheme or some insurance or some self-help group scheme. So this is how you will build rapport with them. They start trusting you, then they will find ways to connect with you, and you will be able to find a way to connect with them. I'd like Vibhuti to add something because, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that this is a very important aspect, that organizing informal meetings. Generally what we do, like even festival celebration, feel good, like when single women issue, we just had a get together of a feel good, because where single women are not invited, only married women are invited. So when they came for Telugu, they were very happy that organization had done this, and they shared their experiences, and it also created a community of them, no? Because the Ekal Nari Sangatna that was created. So get together was a very important thing. When I was a full timer of Women's Center, the get together we organized, that created a support structure, and also the understanding of what kind of challenges different women are facing. Like women, there were women from different socio-economic backgrounds and class backgrounds, even right from vegetable vendor to sex worker to women in a public sector job, all of them were there. And while in this get together, they shared their personal life, and they also created a community, and which also helped us to come up with the demands that we have from the government for the single women. No, that whole charter of demand for single nannies, and what are the special schemes which are required for elderly single women, for their children, for the health facilities that are required, and also the community-based counseling center, which is so important for these women, because they have nowhere else to go. They are cut off from the social life. No, one woman, she said, "I don't have problem. I'm a pension. I will get pension. I have a job. But after I became widow, nobody. I don't have any friends. So I just want you to organize my burial when I die." No. So imagine, this is the kind of, she did not have a financial problem, but she said, "Who will cremate me after I die?"
Yeah, just one more thing I wanted to add is that, in such kind of scenarios, you may not even be able to do your classical research methods, where you have sat with a person and done an in-depth interview for 2 hours those kind of, you might just have to depend on snatches of conversations that you have with the women. And be able to collect it as data in terms of the different conversations that one has had, sometimes while, walking together, or, going from one place to the other, or maybe sitting in a small, shop, chai shop, where you have just spoken to them for 10 minutes. So you will have to be innovative to be able to, collect the data. And there is no typical way that anyone can suggest to say you go about it in this way.
Right.
That is why many times, we say research is a journey, and the field often tells you how to, go forward. The books will only give you a broad framework, but the actual journey of research, especially data collection, will happen as you go along and as you keep learning how to do.
Yeah, true. Like when we were doing qualitative research, it was a multi-centric project of UGC of girl child, where every time we went to interview the girl child, either teacher in school, the teacher would be there, and girls won't be able to speak about street harassment or their problems of menstruation, their love affair, their crush with the boy, or harass. And when we were at home, parents would sit there. So finally, we just said that we are going to organize sports, no? So you just come to play this thing, and they came there, or we said we are having an antakshari. So they would just come to sing songs. So at that time, nobody is scared, either teacher or parents. They are not worried that, okay, they are just singing, no? And then we had a discussion. So
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for your narratives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am. We can take Alka ji's question. Alka ji says that, sir, the session was truly knowledgeable. Thank you. My question is, how do we sensitize the mothers who are aware of the sexual abuse of the child happening within the home by the so-called close relatives, but keep mum as they do not have a voice in the family?
Yeah.
Again, this is, I don't know if this is related to research, because the issue is of creating awareness. So creating awareness, there are different ways of doing it. It is through any kind of, if you see any kind of, practice that's going on, which is harmful to any vulnerable section of society, people use different methods. You have social media campaigns. You do it through, meetings between the stakeholders that you're talking about. You organize melas and fairs, like just now what Vibhuti ma'am said, that took them out for a fun gathering, and then through that exercise, you kind of make them aware. But at the end of the day, these are social problems that are not going to go away very easily. We must also keep that in mind. It has to be a matter of relentless effort by number of people, organizations, and an overall change. Social change doesn't come about easily. No? I mean, it takes centuries for social change to take place. So, yes, but that doesn't mean we don't work. We continue to work and do what we can. But I don't think I have answered your question, but that's all I can say.
Yeah, and also creation of support structure is also important.
Absolutely.
If the mother is totally dependent, because I remember it was the third daughter, the eldest daughter, when father started abusing youngest daughter, the eldest one came out. She came to our organization and she said, my mother knows what my father is doing. And that mother, she told us that घर की कमाई घर में ही रहेगी. If he goes to some other women outside, he will spend money on his salary. I said, I'm totally dependent on his salary. So main thing is that finding alternate support system, that means the work for her, work for all of them. And secondly, that if mother is not, there are several cases now, recently now you see, all these girls, they even videotape and bring all the evidences to the police. And she says that I don't want to stay with this family. That's what happened in Operation Help, no? So many child sex workers, they refuse to go to their parents. Then it becomes the duty of the state. So the shelter homes, 13 shelter homes, 40 colleges, teachers like us, hundreds of teachers, we took the responsibility.
for their complete rehabilitation, and some of them are now working, like they're like your and my daughter, who
Yeah.
are doing good jobs. So I think when there is a total distrust among the abused child of their own biological family, then I think we have to create a new family, community support, and they will come up with their own chosen family. That, you know, LGBTQIA community talks about that their own biological family is extremely brutal with them, and they have created their own chosen family, and our duty is to support them.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So there's a question from Gaurav ji, if he would like to unmute and ask himself.
Yes, yes, sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you. I'm Gaurav, and I basically work in an NGO which is working on the educational domain, and also I'm working in the research team of the NGO. So that's why I asked this question, because I have heard during this session is, abuse children and the prisoner children, so like this only. That's why and I was just wanted to ask that, does Priyas or this institution has any kind of scope to work in educational domain to do research and to more understand about it? So,
Well, Prayas does have an educational component in its program where we support the education of children of prisoners and also children in conflict with law and children who are children of women who have come out of commercial sex. So we have a separate unit which looks at the needs of these children, and educational support is one of the important areas where we work. So we provide for their school fees and tuition fees and things of that sort, school uniforms, books, and keep regular in touch with them so that our social workers, so that they keep motivated, they remain motivated, and when they have a problem, they can talk to them. So, but otherwise, there are government schemes as well. Many states have schemes for support of children in difficult circumstances. So I mentioned about Maharashtra. They have a scheme called Bal Sangopan Yojana. That scheme is meant for giving educational support to children who are coming from orphaned families or single parent families. And this, with our advocacy work, that this has led to also including children of prisoners and children of women from commercial sex in the category of single parent families. So different states, Kerala has a very good scheme for children of prisoners. Rajasthan has a scheme called Palanhar Yojana, which is again to provide monthly financial assistance to the families of children of prisoners. Delhi has a scheme. So there is government support available for in many states. In many states, there is none. But there are organizations also working in this area. But not many, maybe about 5-6 organizations are there that I know of where they provide educational support to these children.
all right, so I will again reframe my question. So
Okay.
I was not asking about these, the abused children's.
Huh.
So I was asking in a general way. So regarding the government schools and to make the education better for the students, in a general way, not in,
there are many organizations, no, which are working for betterment of school education of children.
Yeah.
So we will not be restricted to this topic only, do the research.
Sorry?
And so we will not be restricted only to this topic for the research, for the field work.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We do not have any more open questions and no more raised hands. So I think we're done with the Q&A. I would like to thank you very much for taking the time.
Sorry to I'm so sorry to interrupt in between. I'm so sorry. Like I had question, I had raised hand, probably like there was some confusion.
Sure, ma'am. You can go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah. So there are two questions, sir. And
Please introduce yourself.
Ma'am, I'm Meha Bhushan from Gujarat National Law University. I'm a PhD scholar there. as well as I'm a practicing advocate in Rajasthan High Court and District Court. So, ma'am, my question is, we have got through how to interview the children and all. My concern is basically if we have to conduct a research on transgenders. So, and if we are conducting some unstructured interviews, in that case, because how we'll be addressing them, the very first thing when you address a person, and that too who are facing issues with their whole identity, like मेल और फीमेल आप जाते हैं आप जाती है like according to their appearance or how to go with the first conversation. That's the one question. Thereafter, I'll let you know
You
the
ask
another
them,
one.
no, how they would like to be addressed.
पहला question सर सीधे
What should
यही
be the
पूछ
preference?
रहे हैं, so that would be like fine.
You ask them how they want to be addressed. You address them accordingly.
Okay, great.
And-
thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And transgender is an insulting term. You have to call them transgender individual, transgender person, transgender citizen,
Exactly.
transgender officer, because this is, like the way tribals is also insulting.
Yeah,
You have to
yeah.
call them tribal community
Or
tribal
people.
individual, or
Sure.
Adivasi. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. And sir, ma'am, is there any specific thing in children as a there are some concerns which I said for the POXO related case. If you are taking the interview, we have to keep in mind. Likewise, is because you people are experienced, that's why I'm asking. Transgender में काम people को जब उनके ऊपर research होता है, is there any specific area which we need to keep in mind to ensure that कहीं से भी गलती से भी, क्योंकि we have to take interviews or we have to research, but at the same time पहले वो इंसान है rather than a researching component.
Yeah, so I think your opinion should not. You should give a patient hearing because you yourself don't have a lived experience of what it is to be excluded and abused and stigmatized. No, so best thing is the sympathetic hearing and taking down the notes so that you understand the perspective, their lived reality. It's very important to be.
एक और मेरा सजेशन है,
Yes, sir.
ऐसा कोई सब्जेक्ट नहीं रह गया अभी शायद जिसके बारे में एग्जिस्टिंग नॉलेज नहीं है, तो
जी सर,
उसको आप पहले अच्छे से पढ़िए, जो लिटरेचर रिव्यू कीजिए, तो अपने आप आपको इश्यूज समझ में आ जाएंगे. कोई भी इश्यू पे इनफ रिसर्च ऑलरेडी हुआ है, तो अगर ट्रांसजेंडर पर्सन्स के ऊपर आप रिसर्च करना चाहते हैं तो फर्स्ट स्टेप विल बी टू डू रिव्यू ऑफ लिटरेचर. पहले स्टडीज हुए हैं, उसमें से क्या निकल के आया है, उनके क्या फाइंडिंग्स है, मेथोडोलॉजिकल चैलेंजेस क्या निकले. कई बार पीपल राइट आल्सो फ्रॉम दैट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, यू नो, व्हाट आर द मेथोडोलॉजिकल चैलेंजेस दे फेस, डेटा कलेक्शन में उनको क्या प्रॉब्लम आया. तो वो सब पढ़ के जब आप जाएंगे तो आप यू विल बी अ बेटर इन्फॉर्म्ड पर्सन रिसर्च.
okay. And sir, ma'am, one more thing. I had done qualitative research on domestic violence, access of women for justice in domestic violence issues in Jaipur, Rajasthan. And in that, I had interviewed 20 women, the survivors and the victims who are going through right now, and the various other stakeholders. Now I have the data, how to finalize, like you were saying about thematic analysis of the data which you get. During my master's, during my LLM, I had done that dissertation on the same. And I have those whole of the data. In fact, I got the best maximum marks in the whole batch for my dissertation. But now how to further go with that particular research, because one advice was given to me in my viva was कि इसके analysis पे work करो, it's a publishing sort of material, बहुत अच्छे जगह होगा. But I have now everything ready. I am now in my PhD, I am pursuing, but what to do with those data, and those are till 2022. Those include around 5 years of I had interviewed. Along with that, there was one NGO with which I took the data for which sort of complaints they are getting. So there was a wholesome analysis of the same. So sir, अब उसको कैसे आगे लेकर के जाना when you once get hold of the data?
After that, the analysis part I'm asking.
Professor Raghavan, would you like to?
No, you.
Okay, so I think as Dr. Vijay Raghavan told us about thematic classification. So when you have these qualitative in-depth interviews, from that you can first of all in the socioeconomic background of these 20 women, how what kind of support system they got, were the natal family supportive, was anybody in the neighborhood was supportive to them, did they approach any NGO or criminal justice system, did they file FIR, or what is the relationship with the children? Are they working or housewives? What are how, whether they want to remain in that situation or want to get out of that situation? And what are their future plans? So I think you can have 7 or 8 sub-themes based on this qualitative in-depth interview, and then come up with the academic paper and also theorize that what is their educational level also, educational level, economic independence, number of children, support system that they have, existing support system, and how do they see their future?
Like, because
you can have these sub themes and come up with an article. And there are theories, like if you read Trivia Agnes, or if you read Anjali Dave, or if you read, there is a lot of literature, as Professor Raghavan said, that existing, there are 30 years of domestic research on domestic violence. Even the Dilasa participatory action research done by One Stop Crisis Center. One Stop Crisis Center as a model came out as a result of rigorous participatory action research. No? So if you go through that, you will also know that what is the theoretical framework within which you will write the paper.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am. We have another question in the Q&A box. Nachiket Patilji, if you'd like to unmute and ask yourself. Yes. Nachiketji, would you like to ask?
Priyanka, you can read it out.
Okay, okay. He says, sir, I'm a working professional in urban planning field. Presently, I'm working on town planning scheme project where the challenges are faced in the process of implementation of these schemes. The areas selected for some schemes are above 150 hectares where a lot of issues are faced by authorities and landowners in various ways. As there is delay in such scheme implementation process, the perception amongst the landowners getting negative. Due to this, the authority and also landowners face financial issues in some other way. So, while taking such town planning schemes, we have to take optimum size of schemes under municipal corporations or any regional development authority in various states while implementing the development plans of city. I am thinking to take a research work in this profession itself.
So I didn't understand the question because you already highlighted the issues and the problems and you have stated that you want to do a research on this. So go ahead and do it. What is the...
Yeah, the same method of participatory action research.
Yeah, you involve the stakeholders. Yeah. You talk to the town planners, you talk to the municipal corporation and you interview them, you interview the village owners, the landowners, and then you will come to know what are the obstacles in implementation of the scheme.
And also elected representatives.
Yes.
And also the budget, district commissioner, because they have a development budget, no? What are they spending, no? Otherwise it remains utilized.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Paulimiji has raised her hand. Paulimiji, if you'd like to ask a question.
Yeah, sure. Am I audible to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. First of all, wonderful session. My question is to Professor Raghavan. So a very specific question, not a question, maybe a very silly question, but you were giving the first example where the commissioner asked you, I mean, at least the whole institute to do a research on why this is happening and all. So one of the suggestion you mentioned after the whole research you guys have done, that to appoint more social workers than the policemen. Why is so? I mean, I
No,
was
I didn't
just
say
wondering.
more social workers. I said I didn't appoint social workers instead of policemen.
Yeah, exactly. So
I said no. I said appoint some social workers at the police station level who will work with communities, because
okay.
is overloaded with their work, and they need to do investigation of crimes and prevention of crime and law and order. They are not trained to work with people skills, with communities. The social workers bring different skills, so it can be a very good collaboration between police and social work personnel. So, for example, TISS has innovated on a very well-known project called the Special Cells for Women, whereby social workers are appointed in police stations at different levels, at the commissionerate level, DCP level, and at the taluka level and the SP office. So they work on cases of violence against women, and they work together with the police. So something like that is the suggestion that we have made.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. I misunderstood maybe.
No problem.
But yeah. And one more thing, sir. So when you, I mean, you also talked about another example. While what are those female child who were, I mean, at the child institutions till 18 years? What are they doing after they are coming out? So what are they actually doing? You mentioned that they are actually involved in.
So there was a different, when we did the study, we found that there were different types of, there were women who had ended up in crime. There were women who had ended up in commercial sex. There were women who got married and they were settled in their lives. Few women who also were able to find some work, were independent. But generally, they found it very difficult to stand on their own feet after the process of living in an institution for 10 to 15 years. And because they were not taught those skills of how to live your life independently, they were made very, very dependent. Right from every activity of their lives was provided by the state. There was very little participation in all the activities, including how do you, they had problems even in simple things like how do you go and buy things from the market, because that never in their lives. They had problems forming relationships with people. They had trust with people.
You mentioned that they were not
so
socializing
what our study brought out was, where are the gaps in the rehab process while a girl or a child or a boy lives in an institution? What kind of additional inputs are required so that when they come out, they are really able to get on with their lives? And another thing that we came up with is that there has to be a weaning away program. So after they get out of the institution, there has to be a process of hand holding for at least 3 years before a person can, live a life of their own. Many of those girls said, we need help to find partners. We don't have family. How do we find life partners?
Also, sir,
mistakes. They made many mistakes in finding life partners.
Also, sir, the background also influence in this, right? I mean, since they're from they have been at that home for 18 years, and when this is a kind of crucial reason why they are unable to find the partners. They are willing to find the partners, but maybe the opposite person is not at all interested because of their backgrounds. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
I think we should wind up now.
Yeah. We should wind up.
Yes,
Priyanka. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for taking time and interacting with all of us. We are shortly going to move to the next segment, which is that we'll briefly introduce the participants to the 4-month structure, how it's going to be. We have the month 1 where we've done the orientation. After this, we'll be doing some qualitative research method classes, and we'll focus on the tool preparations and testing, stakeholder mapping, etc. In the month 2, we'll be doing the pilot and fieldwork, research writing and reporting class. Month 3 would involve fieldwork and reporting. This is the time where they'll be doing their policies will be taking shape, will conduct interviews, gather the data, etc. The last month will be reporting, analysis, report submission, the review, and overall completion of the program. After this, I would like to now invite Vaishali ji if she can iron out some of the technical details of the program with us.
Can I leave now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
Good afternoon to everyone. I would like to request Priyanka to share the screen. I have few points to present to the fellows before we move on to the session about the introduction of the fellows. It is to bring to the light of the fellows that we have shared a guideline document with you where we have mentioned all the details about the presentations or the guideline and how to conduct the field work and the report writing as well. So we have kind of like participants will be assisted in getting their reports published on IMPRI Insights and other renowned newspaper, magazines, and journals. Each submitted report will be evaluated for quality and examined for plagiarism. Therefore, participants are requested to produce the original report. The fieldwork at the end of the program will be a compulsory parameter of evaluation. Also, please note that participants will also have to take pictures, make small video clips of their field research and share them with IMPRI team. Also, the participants will conduct fieldwork at their own expense. The fees does not cover the fieldwork expenses. It covers administration, assistants, and supervisors' guidance. Each fellow will be assigned an individual mentor as per the research topic that they will select. Moving on to the next, which is the fieldwork and report submission timeline. The next session that we have on 23rd December, there the fellows are requested to select their topics and discuss it with our chair and mentors. And from January 6th, the fieldwork method interaction will start. And on January 13th, we have the interactive discussion session on fieldwork update. On January 27th, we have the interactive discussion session again. And on February 10th and 24th, we have the interactive discussion session on fieldwork update. On March 15th, fellows are requested to submit their final draft for review and suggestions via email. And on March 23rd, 2014, there will be presentations. And on April 6th, again, we have the presentations by the fellows. And on April 20th, which is the last date of our fellowship, there'll be program presentation, interactive session, and discussion and feedback. And April 25th, fellows are requested to do the final report submission as per the IMPRI research report guideline via email. In this guideline doc itself, we have mentioned the program highlights. We have given a gist of research guidelines, the phases in which the research is supposed to be conducted. We can move. Yes, we have given a very small gist of what all is there in the research process. If we can move ahead. Yes, a little more. Thank you. We have the citation guidelines as well. We have mentioned everything in the guideline document, the way the report citation is supposed to be written with respect to the spelling, references, and everything is all mentioned in the guideline document. Also, the layout of the report writing, the research report that you're going to conduct, how it is supposed to be submitted. It is mentioned here. Also, we will share the Word file. Priyanka, if you could just stop for a moment at the back of it. Yes, yes, a layout one. The layout of the research report, as we move further with our fellowship, we will share a Word doc with you, which you can use, which is a template for the research report submission, which fellows are requested to use it for their individual research topic that they will conduct. Before the submission, they're supposed to use the template for it. This is a layout. This is a gist of all the components that's supposed to be there. And this is the expanded version will be shared with you over the email. Now moving on, yes, we have also in the guideline document, we have also mentioned a few examples of research topics. in order to make if someone is new on how to conduct a research or what are components are supposed to be included in the research report, we have also given an example, a detailed example where we have mentioned motivation, objectives, hypothesis, methodology. If you can move ahead. Yeah, sampling, how sampling is also supposed to be mentioned in your report. Then the interview questions that they are going to conduct. If we can move ahead. Thank you. We have provided 2-3 examples here. Yeah. Right. Now we have the post-submission guidelines for publications, which we will discuss as we move on with our sessions. So we will come back to this again. But we have provided this for our fellows to go through and just see if they have any further doubts. They can always reach out to us. Thank you. And I'll give it over to Priyanka.
Thank you so much, Vishali, for that informative dialogue. And we can now move on to the participants' introduction section of today's session. I request to the participants that they can start introducing themselves, and you can either raise hands, we can call your names. And you should mention like your name, location, a little bit by your bio, discussing some designation, organization, your prospective topics, interest areas, etc. So if you could raise your hands and we can go one by one.
We can start with Mehaji.
Sure.
Mehaji has raised hand.
No, sorry, sir. Like it was raised earlier. Sorry, I forgot to look. So I am Meha Bhushan. I have done my graduation from Hidayatullah National Law University, then my post-graduation from National Law University, Odisha, and currently I am pursuing my PhD from Gujarat National Law University, and I am a practicing advocate in Rajasthan High Court. Along with that, I take clinical courses in Apex Law School, Jaipur, Rajasthan itself. And that's it. Like my interest area is child rights and gender rights. So, and earlier itself, like I am practicing in the field of women and child rights only. So that's the basic concerned area of mine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we can have Paulami ji.
Yes, sure. Hello, everyone. I am Paulami Sarkar. So currently, I am pursuing my master's in economics from IIT Delhi. Previously, I have done my graduation in economics honors from Shri Ram College of Commerce. So due to this master's program, I'm staying at Delhi campus only. Otherwise, I'm from a very small town, Balurghat, from West Bengal. So my research areas of interest are mainly gender economics, labor economics, and previously I have done a small research. Mostly that was more like a theoretical research, which was based on female labor force participation in both India and Bangladesh. I mean, the diverging figures, I have found that. So yes, and previously I haven't done this public policy thing ever, but I always had this craving to do, to learn this area of interest. So that's why I'm here, and I'm looking forward to learn more and more. And today was very interesting and very interactive session. It was wonderful. So
yeah.
Yes, thank
you.
you.
For gender economists, public policy is extremely important because ours is not an ivory tower neoclassical way of thinking.
Yes.
We are committed. We are committed for transformative change for a better quality of life for women. So this course is going to be very useful to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Sneha ji, you can go next.
Yeah. Thank you, Priyanka. Hello, I'm Sneha Ramani. I'm an architect and landscape architect, and I'm a PhD student also. I did my graduation and post-graduation from CEPT University in Ahmedabad, and post that, I am currently pursuing my PhD from IIT Mumbai in Center for Technological Advancements in Rural Areas. My research is focused on I started with studying the plight of women construction workers and the challenges they faced. And later on, I focused myself on looking at the livelihood terrain of women construction workers, the trajectories and the pathways they take through Bourdieu's lens of how social practices can be looked at. Yeah, today's session was extremely helpful, and this is the main challenge that I've been facing in the field of, overcoming barriers of getting narratives from these workers because of power differentials and between me also and them, because I'm an architect. So although my connections with the field are strong, but the kind of informality, it's generally get lost because of certain power differentials. Yeah.
So you will only follow the Bourdieu's perspective, or you will also focus on Grenshaw's work on intersectionality?
Currently I'm looking at Bourdieu and Sain's work, because Sain I consider it to be very pragmatic in nature.
Entitlement.
Yeah, the entitlement theory, yes. So I've not looked at the intersectionality approach, but I'll surely look into it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Abhimanyu ji, you can go next.
Hi everyone, my name is Abhimanyu और from Bihar. मैं करंटली एज अ रिसर्च एसोसिएट अवंती फेलोज करके एक एनजीओ है, उसमें वर्क कर रहा हूँ. और मेरा रिसर्च टॉपिक जो है वो रोल ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी इन एजुकेशन गवर्नमेंट हाई स्कूल.
मतलब ये कोरोना के बाद जो एजुकेशन टेक्नोलॉजी इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ क्लासरूम टीचिंग में, आप वो उसकी बात कर रहे हैं? और अभी जो यूजीसी ने मतलब स्कूल या कॉलेज, स्कूल या कॉलेज, हायर एजुकेशन या स्कूल एजुकेशन? स्कूल एजुकेशन. तो मतलब सक्षम पोर्टल और टीचर जो सिंक्रेटिक जो ब्लेंडेड लर्निंग बोलते हैं उसके बारे में.
हाँ बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, यस. हाँ
ठीक. कैसे आप जाएंगे? हाउ you will focus on one particular school, or you will do review of literature? Hello.
Review of literature, not in our school.
But you will, अच्छा, not in that. So primary data नहीं होगा आपने? Hello. Primary data collection होगा?
नहीं, both रहेगा.
अच्छा, दोनों qualitative और दोनों primary है, secondary. ठीक. अच्छा, बहुत important topic.
Next we can have Amna Halim ji.
Hello everyone. I'm a first year student from Lady Shri Ram College, Delhi University, and I'm pursuing history honors. Looking at the other speakers, I feel like I'm very young amongst the panelists, but I'm really excited for the research that we're going to carry forward. In terms of the topics I'm interested in, I think it was mentioned initially. So my inclinations are towards constitutional policy or international policy. Besides that, maybe the workings of gender and intersectionality is also something that I would be looking forward to. And yes, I'm really excited for the sessions in the future.
Any specific topic within international policy?
I'll have to research a little bit more. But I thought the session would be focusing on national policy, but since there is so much more scope now in terms of international policy, that I'll have to research more.
Right. Please go through the documents carefully. Don't restrict yourself.
We can have Alka ji next. Alka ji, are you good to go? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Vibhuti ma'am. Nice to see you here, and good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
So I'm working with Kotak Education Foundation, who is the CSR of Kotak Mahindra Bank for the last 18 years now. And my major concern is about how do we make students learn? While there are so many policies which the education department has, the state government has, and also so many NGOs working in the field of education, still, if you see the latest NAS report, Mumbai itself is, the third from below. So it's very disheartening to say that. So we are looking at, my main area of work is, what is that we need to do to make a student learn? What are the best practices? And I'm talking about the low-cost schools in Mumbai. And if in Mumbai, the education, being the heart of commercial city, the education is so hard, then what happens to the inner parts of the state? I'm talking about Maharashtra state here. So what are the best practices there? How can the policies, the state government has made so many policies, how can they be operationalized in the schools, And the cognitive area is taken care by our education initiatives. I'm taking care of how do we make it effective, effective in the classroom, effective with the teachers. So this is my area of research when it comes to work. And as I have joined here, I will definitely kind of have my own research question, which will be surrounding this area, but I'll require some time to generate that question.
Have you decided the location of your geographical location of your research?
Yes,
primary data collection. Will it be MWORD?
Ma'am, not MWORD, but this is between Kalamboli and Panvel in Navi Mumbai. There are new settings which have come in where people have migrated back post-COVID. So that is the area which I'm looking for.
So both MMRDA region as well as Thane district, no?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, we can have Nachiket Patel ji.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm audible?
Good afternoon. Yeah, yes. Good afternoon.
Myself, ma'am, Nachiket Pating. I'm a working professional in urban planning field. I have done my undergraduation in civil engineering from Pune University and post-graduation in urban planning from Amritsar. I'm presently working as assistant town planner in Pune Metropolitan Regional Development Authority. Presently I'm handling town planning scheme project in Pune, Maharashtra. So my research focus is regarding town planning schemes. As I have discussed, as I have raised the question in session. So, yeah.
When you say town planning scheme, so there you mean smart city project?
No, ma'am. It's a project. It's a project under Pune Regional Development Authority while implementation process in development plan. So small chunks are selected for such development, and yeah.
So you mean slum rehabilitation?
No, ma'am. There is no slum rehabilitation. It's a land pooling scheme
wash.
where the greenfield development projects are taken place.
Oh yeah, okay, greenfield.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay. Yeah, because Maharashtra is very much into, no, even for the climate change perspective. Yeah.
Yes.
तो नचिकेत जी, इसमें आप ऐसे कितने प्रोजेक्ट देखेंगे?
सर मैं अभी फिलहाल एक प्रोजेक्ट पे काम कर रहा हूँ, बट आई एम थिंकिंग कि अलग अलग अथॉरिटीज यहाँ पे महाराष्ट्र में है, लाइक सिडको, देन लाइक पुणे रीजनल डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी एंड ऑल्सो इन अहमदाबाद डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी. सो आई एम थिंकिंग टू टेक some sort of some schemes while I'm analyzing. So I'm thinking like
सबके बायलॉज वगैरह जो है ना, वो सभी देख लीजिए अथॉरिटीज के.
MMRDA के भी हैं काफी सारे.
काफी. और समीर उन्हले जी हैं हमारे यहाँ, वो वहाँ जॉइंट कमिश्नर भी हैं एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन.
वो तो नॉट नाउ his jurisdiction is Maharashtra.
हाँ, होल महाराष्ट्र.
Nearly 324 corporations and councils.
ठीक है नचिकेत जी, तो आपको एक सुपरवाइजर तो हमने दे ही दिया. आप उनसे मिल भी लेंगे। समीर उन्हले जी, हमारे वेबसाइट में सर्च करेंगे ना उनका नाम, काफी कुछ मिलेगा आपको।
ओके
ठीक
सर,
है,
डेफिनेटली, थैंक यू सो मच।
वेरी गुड। ठीक है,
थैंक यू सर।
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Next, we can have Gaurav ji. Gaurav ji, are you here? Please allow me to. Okay. So, can we move Gaurav ji to the panelists? Okay. Gaurav ji, you can unmute yourself now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Gaurav, and basically I'm from Ghaziabad. Currently working in a non-profit organization called Avanti Fellows, as Abhimanyu must have said about it. So I'm a research associate there, and I am in a research team there. So the organization works on educational domain, and right now we are like researching that how can we include technology in education to make the education easier for the students, and we are like doing some small and pilots on that thing. And also I am graduated from Delhi University, and right now currently pursuing my masters from IGNOU. Yeah, thank you.
But what do you plan to do in terms of research?
Yeah, so that's why I have asked that question earlier. This would be my research area, that how can we include technology in education and make that easier for the students so that they can learn in easy and in a effective way.
So how will you go about it? Any area you have chosen?
Not yet.
What will be your focus of
Not yet
research? School
not yet specifically. Yes, school would be there. Yes.
and the stakeholders, teachers and authorities.
Stakeholders would be, yeah, like the parents, students, and the teachers.
Okay, and the authorities, because technology is a capital intensive area, so authorities also need
Yeah,
to be
authorities would be at the level of it can be at the level of districts and the blocks.
मैम इज सजेस्टिंग कि आप स्कूल के अथॉरिटीज को भी रखिए, क्योंकि टेक्नोलॉजी में मैनेजमेंट आता है ना। आई वाज डूइंग
बजट उनके हाथ में रहता है।
हाँ,
पैसा, फाइनेंस।
गौरव जी, और भी इसमें काफी इम्प्रूवमेंट है। मैंने भी कुछ इवैल्यूएशन हमने किए हैं। टाटा का कुछ एज प्रोग्राम था, उन्होंने कुछ स्कूल में लगाए थे। तो ठीक है, थोड़ा और लिटरेचर रिव्यू वगैरह करिएगा ना, गाइडलाइंस अच्छे से पढ़ लेंगे तो अच्छा रिसर्च आएगा। पोस्ट कोविड
Definitely.
अगेन, या टेक्नोलॉजी।
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Aditya Sagar ji, if you would like to unmute and ask. Sorry, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aditya Sagar. I'm a first-year student at National Law University, Delhi. Much like Amna mentioned, I find myself in the company of accomplished participants, as I'm still in the first year. I hail from Jaipur, Rajasthan, and my research centers on conducting a comprehensive analysis of the execution and inherent deficiencies in the current government policies on a very big level. A pivotal facet of my research entails examining the policies implemented by the prior administrations in the state of Rajasthan, currently the Congress government, subsequent to a shift in the government governing political party, which is the BJP. So basically, I'll be looking at the various policies which were implemented by the Congress government and if they're carried out just as effectively by the BJP government. I intend to conduct interviews with various administrators and authorities to gain insights into this phenomena.
What will be the time period? From which year to which year?
From the last government to this government.
The cutoff year would be 2014.
2014 to 2014 government, from 2014 to 2023.
पर आदित्य जी, उतना डेटा ही नहीं मिल समय नहीं।
7 years.
मैम इज सजेस्टिंग कि विद द न्यू गवर्नमेंट उतना टाइम तो जाएगा नहीं। वी हैव दिस टाइमलाइन ऑफ आवर। हाँ, बट आदित्य जी, बहुत ज्यादा इट इज बिकमिंग मोर जनरल एंड ह्यूज। डू सम मोर रिव्यू। हाँ, थोड़ा सा आप और उसको ना फोकस्ड हो जाइए। हाँ, कुछ departments you take some schemes and then see how it is coming. Do some thorough.
Okay. All right, sure.
Either Jan Dhan or any
हाँ,
important flagships, the MD Narega or Jan Dhan
right.
or
For
RTI or pension, because that is also Rajasthan executed pension.
you can take welfare schemes, financial
Yeah,
inclusion.
Yeah,
थोड़ा
okay,
सा
I'll pick up a particular
microfinance.
scheme. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do who all have worked before there in Rajasthan? That will help you.
Yeah. Lot
Yeah.
of work is there, no? Mazdoor Kisan Sangram Samiti.
Yes, many और
Aruna Royalty का काम,
निखिल डे सर हैं
निखिल
काफी
डेज का.
राजस्थान में काफी काम. ठीक है. Let us go next, Priyanka.
Yes, I think so. We are through with the participants. If anybody is left, can raise their hand. We're done, sir. We're done. We're through with them. I would like to request Vibhuti ma'am to please give us some closing remarks for today's session.
Yeah, I think we start today. We had a very, very enriching session, and Dr. Vijay Raghavan's presentation, very insightful. It set the tone because he's the person who has dedicated best years of his life for participatory action-based research and policy planning. And most of their researches have been translated into policies. And I think that's a very important step. And what we need is a political will. So I think that is the thing which we need to create. So more and more such efforts are made, then I think we'll be able to change our society. So the whole process is of research process, the identification of topic, the whole journey from conceptual understanding to the research methodology, to the policies and recommendations, and seeing to it that they don't gather dust in the offices of the government, but they also get implemented. I think that's a whole journey that we have. That is the mission of this course. And I'm really so happy that today's session started with such a erudite presentation, very well documented, well researched, and the focus on the primary research, and also the very democratic way of conducting a bottom-up process of research, which results into social transformation. So thank you very much to all of you, Professor Vijay Raghavan, IMPRI team, and the participants. We have had a very good start.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for giving us your time. Now, for the participants, I have an important piece of information I'd like to share. I'd ask Vidita if she could share the screen. Yes. So in our previous cohort, LPPYF Action Research Cohort 1, our fellows had enthusiastically completed the research reports. Our duty was to take it further to the public as it talked about some major issues, followed by critically curated, well-thought-out recommendations. Hence, our anthology of the report submitted by the fellows, Law and Public Policy Action Research Fieldwork Program, an anthology of findings and recommendations, came into being. IMPRI Books, upholding the tradition of publishing books of the highest quality in the multidisciplinary areas of research and policy impact. With this particular publication, we aim to contribute to scholars' interest in analyzing evidence-based and action-based studies. We hope to continue the same within the upcoming cohorts as well, including the one that started today. We will share the anthology with you over email and request you to go through it to get an idea of the kind of topics and policies that have been dealt with, along with the formatting template for the chapter. Kindly note that the guideline document that we have shared with you over email contains information on all of this, including the template for the research report and the book chapter. Ma'am, with your permission, I'd like to move towards the vote of thanks.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. So as we come to the end of day one of Public Policy Qualitative Participatory Action Research Fieldwork Fellowship, Cohort 2.0, an online national winter school program, a 4-month online immersive qualitative participatory action research fieldwork certificate training fellowship. I, Priyanka Negi, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, would like to propose the formal vote of thanks on behalf of IMPRI, New Delhi. We are grateful to our experts for the day one session, Professor Vibhuti Patel ji and Professor Vijay Raghavan ji, for taking out your valuable time and allowing us to learn from this online certificate program. We thank our chair, Professor Vibhuti Patel ji, for convening the session. And we thank all of our participants who have raised pertinent questions and actively participated in today's deliberation. We look forward to welcoming you this Saturday on December 23rd at 11:30 a.m. for our day 2 of the certification course by distinguished expert Dr. Amarji Sani ji, and followed by topic selection and discussion with the IMPRI team. Participants, buckle up for an incredible journey over the next 4 months. Your dedication, curiosity, and passion for positive change will shape the impact of this fellowship. We look forward to witnessing the remarkable work that will emerge from your efforts. Best of luck. Let's make these months unforgettable. We're grateful if you're watching us later on YouTube or listening to us on our various podcasts or reading our publications. We hope you continue to join us in future to our IMPRI Web Policy Talk and Web Policy Learning. Wishing you a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.